What's that?
That?
Yeah.
Oh, it's my wife and daughter. It's my family. Yeah.
Yeah. Why are they here?
Oh, it's just like couple games. So, I made a couple with Karen and then I had a kid and like I'm happy and stuff. So, just celebrating the season.
But I'm alone.
Oh, yeah.
Single.
Right. I see. I get because the whole theme of the videos, couples games.
What's up, everyone? My name is Nick.
I'm Mike.
We're the Brothers Perfect. Now, these are top 10 couple games, but really, these are top 10 games
Listen.
we think you should play with someone you know well.
Exactly. Listen, not everyone's coupled up.
That's fine.
Not everyone wants to be coupled up.
Don't.
That's totally fine. There's different ways to live your life. I don't care about that in the least. These, as you said, are games that are good to play with someone that you really care about. Friend, family, foe, a trained monkey, whatever.
I thought you were going to say a monk. And I was like, okay.
I don't think any of these things would be offensive to monks, so it'll work out.
We'll see.
These are top 10 couple games.
Quick honorable mention.
Yeah.
War of the Ring.
Listen.
Let's be honest.
It's so long, it's hard to put on like a couples game, but
Yeah.
listen, if you're watching this video, you're a nerd.
You're a nerd.
We've discussed this in other videos.
We all know this.
You're already on nerd level 10.
Yeah.
If you're on nerd level 10, you probably like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
If you're smart.
If you're smart.
All right, if you're a good person. All right? And so you can play War of the Ring, which is just Lord of the Rings in a box. You can talk about your favorite parts from the movies and books and stuff while you play Lord of the Rings in a box. And it's good. So that's an honorable mention because it's so long that if you're a new couple, when you go into the game, you're going to be an old couple by the time you come out. And if you're an old couple going in, you might be dead.
True.
All right? So, because it's a long
We can't
game.
be killing people out here.
So let's get into number 10 for real. All right, so number 10 is actually a series of games called the Exit Games.
Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. We really would appreciate it. It really helps us a lot if you do.
What's going on?
I'm doing like a behind the scenes. Keep going. I'm doing like a behind the scenes.
I'm talking about the Exit Games?
Yeah, you talk about the Exit Games.
Okay, so the Exit Games are actually a series of games where you are solving riddles, you're using the whole...
Oh, that was a good joke. Oh, man, sorry.
Solid.
All right,
The Exit Game is a series of games where you're solving riddles and things using the box, cutting up materials, rearranging stuff, folding things. There are these consumable games. There's also unlock games. There's many games that use this kind of like code deciphering systems. It's really fun to put your heads together and try to think outside the box, sometimes literally outside the box, to get to the bottom of these mysteries. There's ones that are themed like Lord of the Rings, and other stuff. There's game tie-in ones. There's a lot of these cool kind of games, and Exit does a really good job because literally, again, sometimes you're cutting up materials.
It's nuts.
It does crazy stuff, and it's really clever. So it's just a fun thing where, again, you get to be cooperative and kind of try to...
And solve puzzles together, which is always fun. And it's also, there's a lot of these kinds of games. There's like unlock games. You can also play games like Chronicles of Crime, which are more like scenario-based, but it's still about like you're like solving crimes and like looking stuff up. And so... yeah, the Exit Games, though, I mean, they have been tip-top, really. They've just been so good.
Choose one that seems interesting and go for it. Those are the Exit Games. Nick, you know what I love more than anything?
What's that?
Presidential scandal.
It's like corruption on a massive level.
Yeah, this is Watergate.
This is Watergate, yes. This is a two-player game where you are, one player is Tricky Dick, you're Nixon, and the Nixon administration, and the other one are the people who kind of broke Watergate.
Yeah.
And so basically it's a two-player, ultimately a tug-of-war game where there's going to be evidence that's basically on this track, and you're trying to collect evidence. If you're the reporters, if you are the Nixon administration, you're essentially trying to get rid of evidence. And it's just, everything about this game is super cool because it's kind of like it's not like a war game, but it's kind of
like those event-based card games.
It's a card-based,
you know,
kind of not war game, but one of those kinds of games.
It's in the
direction.
direction.
So you're playing these events, the things that actually happened, and like if you're Nixon administration, you're trying to essentially like silence different reporters. If you are the reporters, you're trying to like get stuff out, and it's cool because the board is like one of those like tack boards.
Yeah,
where
we
you're
have like
drawing
all the
strings.
The connected points of this whole story.
And what you do is on the outside, you have like essentially like major pieces of evidence. I remember exactly what they are. They're like major pieces of evidence, and you're basically in Nixon's in the middle.
Yeah, you're trying to
and
get
you
them
need to get a line to Nixon.
Yeah.
And Nixon's trying to like cut off lines and stuff like that. It's such a cool thematic game. But again, it's like maybe a little bit testy for like a couples game, but like it is that kind of like real head-to-head, real fun, spice up the evening, but it's super, super cool, but it's really fun because you're like getting in each other's heads. You're just pushing and pulling and pushing and pulling. It's so cool.
Yeah.
And it's really an outstanding game with a really cool theme over something that happened that was really cool.
It's really great.
Really awesome
great
thing.
stuff.
And so Watergate's number 9. It's a really cool game. If you haven't tried it, check it out. It's really unique. It's awesome.
Number 8 is Point City. This is a little tableau building game, in the same vein of kind of a Splendor, if you're familiar with that game, where you are going to be drafting cards. These double-sided cards. On one side, they show a resource or resources. On the other side of the card are buildings. And based on the tableau, you have to take 2 cards that are next to each other. And if you're taking a building card, you need to have all the resources available in your hand of cards or out in front of you to be able to pay to build that building as you're building your little city in front of you.
Yeah.
Now, what's really cool is as you build buildings, many of them will start to produce a kind of permanent resource. Might be like industry or, help your economy. And then in the future, if you need those symbols and you have them amongst your tableau, you can use those as like a virtual currency, so you don't have to spend cards from your hand. It's kind of representing you building up your infrastructure of your town as you get better. And you're going through these kind of 3 levels of cards. As cards become more expensive, start becoming worth more points and stuff. So you're kind of building up your little engine as you go.
Yeah.
We really enjoy just the kind of simplicity. It kind of fits in that cozy vibe of playing cards. There's some interesting decisions with how you actually get your 2 cards from this display of 16.
And that's really what makes, because there's a lot of those kinds of games that like you're putting out cards and they give you like a permanent resource. There's a lot of games that have that, but I really love like the tableau, the way you have to get your cards, where you have to choose 2 that are next to you. So you're like, oh man, I really want this card, but I can't afford this card.
Yeah.
So you have to get both, and whenever you get a resource, the next card that comes out will always be a building.
Or
so
the
the
other
thing
way
is always
around,
changing. You're getting each other's way in terms of the drafting. I just think it's really a good way to go about that kind of game.
Yeah, it's a really good like game length as well, where it's not too long, but you get a chance to feel yourself kind of ramping up, getting more of those permanent resources built out. There's these civic tokens you can get, which will give you end game scoring and stuff based on kind of the tableau that you built. It's just a really solid game, got fun, kind of simplistic art. The whole package is just really fantastic. So that is Point City, a nice little city builder. And who doesn't want to build a city with someone that you care about?
We built this city.
We built this city with double-sided cards.
Dude, Cher said it. The next one is a 2-player trick-taking game, which is called Sail.
It's too long of a lead up. I realize now to go Sail. Okay, Sail. It's a 2-player trick-taking game where you are trying to, from all play, where you're trying to navigate these waters with
trying to get from point A to point B.
pirate crew. Yeah, exactly. You're trying to get to point A to point B, but there's a kraken lurking around that's trying to damage your ship. And you are, again, kind of trying to stay out of troubled waters and getting, around the kraken or kind of fending them off via trick-taking.
Yeah.
So trick-taking is typically something that is assigned for, 4 or 5 players.
And usually
competitive. Like hearts or spade, and usually competitive. And here, it's a cooperative game where, based on the cards that you play, and if I led with, the gray suit, you have to follow if you can, so the normal kind of trick-taking things are there. But these cards will have certain symbols, and if you make a certain pair of symbols, they will often allow you to act, mostly to move your ship, at times to attack the kraken.
Yep.
You can play 2 cannons and do a cannon action, which will be something that you'll kind of flip over a random card and do something based on the icon that shows up there. There are mermaids that allow you to kind of essentially do a double move, things like that. And what's kind of cool is the board is this kind of diamond system where you're usually moving forward and then either up or down.
Yeah, you're almost never going just straight. You're usually kind of going like this,
with the exception of those mermaids.
Yeah.
And whoever wins the trick means that the ship will come toward them a little bit, and at times there's like islands and things you have to get out of the way. So it could be that if we go up into my side, we'd run into an island we can't move. So I need to lose this trick so that we go around the island on Nick's side and stuff like that. So there's a lot of that clever trying to read each other's minds or playing a card to communicate, hey, I don't have any higher numbers.
I don't have any greens,
or I don't have any greens, or whatever it might be. It does all that great trick-taking stuff and puts it into this kind of cool board as you're navigating your ship.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of trick-taking games, right? Is like that hidden language that you're speaking the entire time you're playing. And it's fun when it's cooperative because you're trying to reach a common goal. So you're like, oh, I'm playing this. We need you to win to go here. And you can't talk about what you're doing, but you're looking, you're like, oh, we're going to slam into a kraken if we don't. So we need to move over here. And it just takes that like cooperative, that kind of hidden language of trick-taking, makes it cooperative, only 2-player in a really small little package. Great art by Webbers and Santiago.
that's awesome.
It's just really, really fun.
There's little player powers.
Yeah.
There's just a lot to love. There really is a lot to love in that tiny little box and stuff. And so we always are interested in trick-taking games. I think they're always really just create interest. I mean, there's a reason we keep coming up with new ones. And this one did a really cool thing. And anytime it's cooperative and trick-taking, it's cooperative trick-taking and 2-player. I'm like, all right, let's see what's going on here. And we have quite enjoyed that one. It's pretty challenging to boot. So that is Sail.
Number 6 is going to be another a cooperative game that we really, really like.
Bonafide classic
for us. Yeah, it is. And this is Stop Thief. So this is a game where you're working together to track down and find a criminal. This is a game that is an app-based game because it is run by audio clues. So basically there's going to be a board, there's going to be 4 different like buildings, and then there are certain spots that these criminals can steal from, but you don't know where they are. So basically on your turn, you're going to get a clue from the app, and that clue is going to give you an audio clue. So it'll be, you hear like people walking inside. You might hear people walking outside. You might hear a door opening or a window breaking. And that is going to kind of tell you what spot they're on. The problem is there are many, many spots that are like inside, but as you get, oh, it's inside, then inside clue, then a door opening, then a window breaking, then outside, then inside. You can then start to piece out where they are because you're like, oh, they can't be here because that sequence of sound clues
wouldn't be possible.
And then if they ever go onto a spot where they can steal something, you'll hear an alarm. And you're basically trying to catch, there's a group of them, you're trying to catch them like 6-7 times before they steal, I think, $50,000.
Yeah, and every time they steal something, you lose $5,000 from your money. So you're kind of a race against time.
Yeah, and every time you catch them, they run away, so you don't exactly know where they are. You have to start from square one again a little bit. It's really, really fun. It's also a good like family weight game, so it's not like super heavy.
Yeah.
It's just a great like end of the night, let's work together and play a game, and it's just really good.
Yeah, we've enjoyed this at 2-player a lot. Playing it 3 and 4 is also fantastic. Yeah. Again, you can play it with family. You can play it cooperatively, competitively if you want to do it that way too, but we really recommend the co-op version. It's just really fun to kind of piece together that puzzle as a team. So Stop Thief is one we've loved for a long, long time, and it's just never like fallen off. It's just really great and continues to be an awesome time to kind of bring people together around the table. So that is number 6. Hit it with that Stop Thief.
What is that?
Oh, this? Oh, yeah. It's like a, like a thing. It's it's a curio. It's a curio.
A curio?
Yeah. See, it's a conversation piece.
Wait, is it an antique?
And I think it's like a coastal retro. You always nag my ideas. Look, I have thoughts and stuff. I think it's really good for the living room. I think it gives flow. It's a unifier. It's a conversation piece. Please just let me have this.
Okay. Fine. But if that's staying, that has to go.
Our wedding photo?
Yeah, it'll look great in the bathroom.
The bathroom?
The bathroom is the most romantic room of the house.
Ooh, it does not look like it's going well for them. Hey everyone, I'm Mike from the Top 10 that you've been watching, and also that sketch. Now, talking about how to decorate a house can be really difficult, especially if you don't really want to say how you feel. And moving can be even more difficult, but now, thankfully, we have Decorum and the new expansion of Decorum moving out. In Decorum, players are trying to passive-aggressively get a house decorated in a way that makes everyone happy. Through practice, however, you've mastered the art of pairing paints with curios and lamps with art throughout the house. So it's time for the ultimate test between you and your partner: moving. How will the lamps fit into your smart car? Is there enough bubble wrap for everything? How are we going to do this? In Decorum Moving Out, players are given 20 new 2-player scenarios to explore, including boxes, bubble wrap, and vehicles. This expansion will be available in March, so keep your eyes peeled. And as for fans of Decorum, there's also now a free app you can use to generate new puzzles and challenges for decorating your way through the game, including a daily 2-player puzzle. Be sure to check the description of this video for everything about Decorum and the new expansion Moving Out, and a big thanks to Floodgate Games for sponsoring this video.
Number 5 is you want some chaos.
Oh yeah. Well, you want a little bit of panic. You know, you want some high stakes.
You want to see how you work together in a dangerous emergency situation.
Absolutely. So this is Rush MD. This is a real-time game, so know that it will be kind of panicky and
4
stuff.
minutes each round.
You have to be kind of into that vibe. We'd like to just put that out there. That might not be everyone's cup of tea, but Rush MD is really fun. It's set in a hospital, and you are controlling these sand timers, which represent doctors and nurses, as you try to treat as many patients as you can. You need to do intake with them if they're an inpatient patient, and figure out what's going on with them. You have some starting information about symptoms that they're presenting.
Yep.
Then you do some further testing, which might reveal more symptoms or worse symptoms than you thought. And then you need to get them treated.
Yep.
And this is all by using your workers, which again are these sand timers, because if you put a worker out, you flip their sand timer and you cannot move that worker again until the sand runs out.
They're doing something.
They're doing a task.
Yeah, they're
this
doing
is like
something.
high skill stuff that takes some time.
Yeah.
What you're doing with this is you are gathering supplies. You need to make sure your hospital is well stocked with syringes and medicines and IV bags, saline
Blood,
solution, blood, organs, all sorts of things that you need. Typical
It's
hospital
in your pockets,
stuff.
yeah.
Put it in your pockets. And then you need to use those resources accordingly to treat people. Some people are outpatient; they're really simple. They need some meds, get them out the door. Other ones are more serious. But as you treat these patients, the reputation of your hospital goes up and things like that, which is ultimately your goal, is to reach a certain level of reputation within the 4 rounds that you have. This one is just super fun because there's like almost mini games with the tests that you have to do. You have to do like flip over cards and do matches and different stuff like that. There's some dexterity elements. We really love the production value. You have these like gurneys that you put the cards that represent the patients onto, and stuff like if you're in surgery and you're dealing with organs, you have to use these tweezers to pick stuff up because which is true.
Yeah.
You can't just hold something with your bare hands. Like you need to be like gloved up. And so you use tweezers to keep things sanitized. It's just a lot of fun. It's just, there's a lot of kind of toy factor to this, honestly, where you have these pieces and the syringes, you're actually putting like these little wooden pellets into a syringe and then have to put it into the gurney. It's
so
just
ridiculous.
kind of like you're playing with just like a bunch of silly toys, and it's honestly great.
It's
It
really
is
good.
so fun. And a challenging board game because
Yeah.
you also have the workers you have to use and stuff like that. So it's
You have to really have to work together. It's
Yeah.
it's so much fun. It's so weird. It's such a good game, and it seems impossible when you're doing it, but you can get it done. And it's just a really unique, interesting game.
Yeah.
And I really, really enjoy it.
absolutely, that's Rush MD. If you're not for the faint of heart, I suppose, but it is a blast and a half. Highly recommend.
All right, number 4 is going to be Cascadia. This is mostly just because it's just such a nice, cozy
It's a
game.
cozy
You can
time.
throw a lot of like cozy games in here. We're going to throw in Cascadia because it's one of our favorites. This
We
is
do
a
love
game where you are trying to build out a habitat and try to have animals in that habitat in the kind of correct spaces. So on your turn, you're going to draft a tile that's also connected to an animal, and you'll put that tile in your ever-growing ecosystem world.
Yeah.
And then each of the tiles will have essentially different kind of animals that can hold, like a fox or an elk or a hawk. And then the animal tile that you get, you have to put onto a matching tile somewhere.
Something in your tableau that shows that animal. Yeah.
And that's it. That's what you do in the game. But then at the end of the game, each type of animal is going to score in a certain way.
Yep.
So the bears might be like, you will get points for having a set of 1 bear and then a group of little 2 bears and a group of 3 bears. That'll be worth like 8 points every time you have that. The elk might want to be in a big straight line. The foxes are going to want to be surrounded by other stuff. The hawks are going to want to be as far away from each other as they can. All of these different animals score in different ways. And so as you're drafting these things, building these things out, you're basically trying to build big like swaths of like forests or mountains, and then also just trying to score these cards as best you can. And these cards all have like 5 different ways that they score. So the foxes will have 5 different ways they score. You just mix them up and just choose whatever ones you want. It's just so good. It's so relaxing. It's an insanely popular game for a reason.
Yeah, we love games that just give you a really simple turn structure.
Yeah.
It's like take a tile and a paired token. You have some nature tokens that can break up some of those rules. Put it into your tableau, pop down the animal token and on to your next turn. But there's some fun puzzliness. You want to create large masses of the same land. And stuff like that. So it's just like really easy turns, but some surprising, decisions to have to make in ways that you can kind of maximize your score. And it's quick to boot. So it's just easy to get into, easy to play, perfect, over a cup of tea or coffee.
Yeah.
On a nice cozy night, get some candles lit or whatever it is.
Why not?
This is one that we just keep coming back to. And again, as you mentioned, there are many other similar such tile laying games that in terms of there's an ease of play there that make it great. So choose the one that's best for you, but one that we always love and recommend is Cascadia.
Yeah. Number 3 is going to be Wingspan, really any Wingspan, but specifically Wingspan Asia.
Sure, yeah.
That is a 2-player version of Wingspan.
It's a 1 to 2 player version of Wingspan, where if you got just Wingspan Asia, you can play the
Just
game
like
completely. It's a standalone expansion. You can also combine it with any other Wingspan content you want. But it is standalone, so it gives you all that you need. And that's one thing that we like is we have all the expansions for Wingspan, but we keep Asia separate because it's easier just to pull that tiny box now off the shelf and play, and it gives you that kind of a more focused 2-player experience with this kind of duet board where you're placing out your pieces. It's almost kind of like an area control element, so it gives something that feels a little unique to the 2-player experience while giving you all the great stuff that you've seen in the various expansions and content for Wingspan. This is a fantastic, if you're not familiar with Wingspan, engine building game where you are building out a tableau of bird cards. You're bird watching, so you're trying to attract birds to different, these 3 different rows which represent kind of, landscape types. There's a forest and the sort of wetlands and your prairie, I suppose. And as you fill out those rows with birds, you will, when you take the associated action, there's an action associated with those 3 rows, you get to activate many of the birds that you've played, anything that has a brown banner. So as you kind of fill up a row of cards, that action becomes stronger, and you get to do a bunch more actions with this. You really kind of ramp up from round 1 to round 4 in terms of what you can do. It's just great. It's kind of super appealing theme. I don't think there's many people who are like, I don't like birds and birders. Bird watchers. It's just,
those filthy bird watchers.
Goes down smooth. Well, they're perverts, all of them. We know that.
We all know that.
Standing in their high-waisted pants or whatever it is. But it's just a game that just has beautiful art, really awesome gameplay. And again, with Wingspan Asia, it's just nice and kind of easy to get into the game. You have a full set of things. It's for 1 or 2 players. And for us, it's just less things to have to pull out of a box to play. So we really appreciate that they have that. I'm like, oh great, this is now easier. And the duet experience with that board is really cool as well. So any Wingspan, like we said,
realistically.
But if you want to talk about 1 and 2 player stuff, go for Wingspan Asia. And then if you like, especially if you're trying Wingspan for the first time, I really recommend that. And if you like Wingspan after that, get all the rest of the stuff too. Why not? But that's Wingspan.
Number 2, you gotta work together to land this damn plane.
Listen,
and this is Sky Team.
If people are working against each other to land a plane, it's not going to go well. It's very much a team effort. This is Sky Team is a dice placement game where you are a pilot and co-pilot on your, final approach to an airport. There's many airports you can choose from in the game with different challenges and things.
Yeah, they get rough.
And you are on your final descent. So you need to kind of prepare a lot of things for the plane to land. There's a lot of steps that go into it. One, you got to deploy the flaps. You got to get the landing gear down. You got to prep your brakes. You need to make sure you stay nice and level. There's also around airports other planes. So you need to clear those planes out of the way and be communicating with using the radio to make sure you don't run into any other planes, because that's not good. And you have to make sure you kind of arrive at the airport right on time and not overshoot it. So there's managing your speed, your tilt, and all of those things. And the thing that's kind of a trick is you can talk strategy,
of course,
and in between rounds, and then once you go to roll your dice, you cannot talk about what dice you rolled. You have to kind of maybe play dice certain places to perhaps infer.
Give a little information.
Give some info about the types of dice you have. And there's also certain spaces that only the co-pilot can use. Some spaces only the pilot can use, and some spaces that either player can use.
Yeah, and it's tough because there's a couple different spaces, the engines and then the tilt. You have to put out every single time.
You get 4 dice, and 2 of them have to be allocated to those.
And then the other stuff you can kind of do whatever you want, but it's like, so you're always kind of like, ooh, what do I put this one out now? Because sometimes you're like, oh, I left this to last, and that's not good because now we have no choice but to do this, and so it's this interesting communication where you talk, okay, let's try and do this, but then you roll and you can't talk anymore. So you're kind of like, okay, let's try and do this. We need low numbers. And I roll a bunch of 6s. You're like, well, I don't have low numbers, so we're going to have to figure this out. But again, you can't talk. It's really, really fun. As Mikey said, there's a bunch of different airports. So as you kind of go through the airports, they're going to get harder. There's going to be traffic. There might be like ice on the runway. There's kerosene leaks. There's like interns and stuff. It's nuts. There's so much content. There's like 21 different airports you can do. It's such a unique, interesting game where you have to work together. But you're also kind of at the mercy of the dice, and it's really, really fun. It's so cool. It's such a unique 2-player experience. It's just a blast.
Yeah, I just really love the theme of it. The idea of like landing a plane is like really cool, and the way that they kind of bring some of those elements into a board game analog state is really really fun as well. So that's Sky Team. Lots of kind of escalating challenges to explore in that one. So it's one you can kind of keep coming back to over and over again.
Yeah. Number 1, we just love it. It's Codenames Duet.
It's Codenames Duet.
This is so good if you know the person. Even if you don't know the person, it's still good. But
it's a good way to get to know how someone thinks.
Get into someone's head and really try and figure some stuff out.
Absolutely. So Codenames is a party game where you're giving one-word clues that are pointing to one or more of the words in the center of the table. And that's normally a team game that you have one clue giver and a bunch of their teammates, another clue giver and a bunch of their teammates. And in Codenames Duet, there's just 2 players. You have 25 cards still, just like Codenames, in the middle of the table, and you're once again giving one-word clues, but just to your partner. And on the table, you're each going to have 9 words that pertain to you alone, or I think 6 words, sorry, and then 3 words that each of you have.
Yeah.
But we don't know which ones are our overlap words or which ones are not. There's also assassins. So if I say a clue, Nick chooses one of these 3 words out here, that's an instant loss.
Yeah.
And Nick also has 3 assassins. They are not the same assassins.
Nope.
So there's a lot of kind of things where you're like, man, it keeps pointing to that one word, but that's kind of scary to me because on my side it's an assassin. What if it's also an assassin for you? And you're trying to get all 15 words in just, I think, 7 to 9 turns, depending on your difficulty level and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you don't have a ton of time to kind of give these clues. So you have to try.
Yeah.
And the kind of trick of this game is that you can give a clue that points to like maybe 2 or 3 or however many words that are in the display. So if I say like icy 2, that means I'm saying that 2 of the words to me somehow are related to or refer to something being icy.
Yeah.
And then Nick could then give some guesses and you would do the same thing. So you're pushed to try to think of like, what's a word that kind of points to as many of these as possible.
And sometimes it's really easy. You know, you might have like cow and horse. They're both animals, right?
Yeah.
But there might be cow, horse, and somewhere else there's like sheep. And so you're like, well, I can't say animals because sheep isn't one of mine. And what if they choose sheep first? And so you're trying to
do cattle.
You're trying to get as much as you can out of a clue and really trying to like, okay, this one makes sense with the clue. This one's kind of a stretch, but it does make sense if you think about it. And so that's why it works really well, especially if you have like very similar reference points or you know each other. I could maybe say something. Michael will be like, oh, Nick's talking about back when we were like kids, we used to da-da-da-da-da-da. And that's, I think, what Nick is pointing to with this one.
Yeah, it's really fun to be able to use that to your advantage.
It's just fun. Codenames Duet's by far, I like all Codenames, but it's by far my favorite kind of Codenames. I just think it's so much fun to just see how there's also like even like a little campaign in Codenames Duet that you can kind of go through.
That gives you different kind of difficulty games. You're trying to go through all the cities and stuff because the theme is that you're spies speaking in code to each other, which who cares about that? But it's really, really fun to I don't know. We like clue giving games are just fun and interesting and
you're on the same team, you're working together. It's just fun.
Yeah, making a pure co-op experience with some of the changes. The way they did that, I thought was really clever.
Yeah.
And it's one that's really held up over many years now. Of course, there's many versions of Codenames, and they're all awesome. But Codenames Duet just stands above the rest for us.
Yeah.
Just because that style of bringing the head-to-head cooperative experience. So those are 10 games. 10 games that we highly recommend for couples, for good friends, for whoever's important to you in your life, a board game bud. Play games.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? They're a great way to bring people together.
Yes. That's the whole point, right? Like it's just like
exactly.
Yeah.
It's just a fantastic way to share and spend time, and that's what we're all about here. So again, don't have to be coupled up to play any of these games. You don't have to be coupled up in your life at all, or whatever you define as being with people. There's thruples and more out there. And stuff.
Who knows, man? We don't kink shame.
Literally, it's all groovy and awesome. So do what works great. But whoever you're with in life, play board games. You got it. You see our patrons down here rolling.
They're all married to each other.
Exactly. Well, they're married to us now, legally. That's how a patron works. Become a patron today. It's really great. We have bonus content, exclusive first looks at games, our first kind of thoughts, supplemental
Q&A
top
stuff,
10s, Q&A and more. Please go check out our Patreon. We really appreciate it. Big shouts out to Floodgate Games. who you saw our little ad read
Yes,
for.
indeed.
Go check out Decorum, the expansion. Decorum's a game that we also
So
have
much
enjoyed
fun.
for the last
Yeah.
year and change. So go check them out. Again, description of this video will have information for that Decorum expansion from Floodgate. And we're going to get out of here, everybody. I'm Mike.
I'm Nick.
We are the Brothers Murph. And drop in the comments your couples games or whatever you want. Hit it right now. Do it.